Hey guys, welcome to 16-Bit Bench. Matt here, playing a little bit of Mario. So if any of you have seen my previous videos, you may have noticed, that's what I get for not concentrating. You may have noticed on the next to the TV here is an NES. So one of the things I did when I started up the company was I bought this NES with the intention of RGB modding it, and I'd fitted the RGB mod module, but I hadn't quite done it very well. So what I did today is I've revisited my installation, rewired it, and now it works. So what we're going to do for this video is we're just going to look at the work that I've done installing the RGB module. We'll look at the website where you can buy it from. I'll put some links in the description. And what I'll do is, you can't really see it on the camera, but what we'll do is we'll have a look at the comparison between the RGB signal and the composite out, which you get as standard. I can tell you from just playing it now, it looks a million times better. Like, you can see the pixels, you can see the detail. There's not horrible compression artifacts that you get from composite video. Yeah, it looks really good. And I think, the module itself cost about £70, and the installation probably took about half a day. So we're looking at maybe the cost of about £40 to £50 to install it. So £120 to install it on an NES, and then of course adding the cost of the NES itself. It's a pricey thing, and I don't think there's much money in modding NESs and selling them. But yeah, as a personal thing, there we go. As a personal thing, it's something that I want in my collection, or something that I want to have in the office here. It's great. So yeah, let's go to the bench and have a look at how it's installed and what you need to do if you want this mod. Here we are on the bench, and we're going to take the NES apart. I'm cheating, I've already removed a lot of the screws because I've been working on it today. So off comes the lid, and we'll put that to one side. Inside you'll have to remove the screws that are holding the upper shield in place. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws that hold this shield in place. And once you undo those, it comes straight out. Oh, I left the game in there. Let's take that out. Okay, so the lower chassis, which is holding the motherboard and the connectors and the power board, which also has the AV indicator in, is held down by the same screws. So once you've removed the upper screws, you remove the lower screws. There's then one here comes out and one here, either side of the RF adapter. Excuse me. And they come out. I've put a cheeky screw in here just to hold it for while I was playing with it. So then you've got the cartridge connector, and that's held in by 6 screws. There's 3 at the front. No, sorry, there's 2 at the front. And 4 at the back. The silver ones are slightly longer than the brass ones. So the brass ones that are used throughout the NES are completely interchangeable. They're all the same length. The silver ones are not. They are slightly longer, and that's because they go through the cartridge connector and then onto 2 standoffs on the on the bottom side of the case. So they need to be a little bit longer. So yeah, so don't get those mixed up with any of the other screws, otherwise you might have a problem. There we go, and left these chaps in. Get that out, and that. So there's 2 parts to the cartridge connector. There's a spring-loaded cassette, and then there's the actual connector that's on the board. So the cassette just pushes forwards and comes off, and you'll see it. This plastic bit here, that goes under the board, that clips on there. So when you put it on and off, you have to put it slightly forward of the board, kind of slot it in like so, and then it slides back, and it needs to be flush with the board below when you reinstall it. Okay, so that is most of the disassembly done. Let's just put this in. So let's take a look at what I've actually installed. So take the camera. So bits that have been installed on the external side of the case are that's an 8-pin DIN connector, a 2.5mm of audio jack, and a 3-position switch. 1, 2, 3. So mostly self-explanatory. The DIN connector there is for the SCART connector, so that's the AV. The phono is probably not actually required, but was in the instructions, so I kind of put it in, and it came with the kit, so I thought, well, I'll put it in. Yeah, so what you could do is take audio out of the unit and put it to a stereo or AV amplifier. And then over here we got the 3-position switch, and what this is selecting is between 2 color modes on the leftmost and rightmost positions. So a duller and then a more vibrant color mode, and in the middle position is composite video out, so kind of a pass through. In that situation you won't get any video out of here, but you will go back to receiving video out of the existing connector. So you'll get AV out there, and I assume you'd also get RF out of the RF connector, but I've not even bothered tuning that in because I don't need to. So those are the external things that we need to add when we do this mod. The mod actually came with a 9-pin mini DIN connector, not the 8-pin that I've installed here. And the 9-pin came with a little board on the back of it, which you could have wired directly to, but it didn't have the audio in it. And I guess it's because whoever designed it doesn't want to use it in that particular way. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're from America, where you don't really have SCART cables. But I wanted one connection that carried video and audio in it, so I didn't use the mini DIN. I used this big guy instead. Yeah, couldn't find any nice flush mount screws, so I've used some massive ones. But that just means it will never ever come out. Okay, so if you're looking to install this, so you've got this far on dismantling it, and you now need to get a little bit further. So what we can do is lift the board up. It's not held in place by anything. Then we'll unplug the left and right, sorry, player 1, player 2 controller ports, left and right controller ports, and then the power and reset switches are on this blue cable here, and I can't lift the board because it's all connected in, but you just pull that out, and there we go. So if we flip this guy over, it gets a bit tight once you've installed the mod. So that's the only trouble. You have to just be careful, gentle, slow, and you can get the bottom shield off. There we go. Aha, there we are. So if we take the phone again and take a closer look, we've got the bottom shield here, I've taken off. Let's just turn the phone the right way around. The bottom shield there, and then this is the main NES board. There's the big power and RF adapter module. So you can see this is the mod installed here, and what you do is you remove this chip from the board. So this chip doesn't come with a kit. This chip is on your NES. This is what you need to desolder, and you desolder it from the main board, and then you install, and it comes from some of these pins here. That's not really very illustrative. And it then you install a pin header onto the NES board, and you install the chip into the mod. So let's just have a look at the mod board. So the mod board just pulls off like that. Let me take another close look. So you can see there's the pin header that I've installed into the NES. So we remove this chip and we install this pin header, and then on the mod board there's a corresponding row of pins, and then all you need to do is just plug the board in, you can see here on the board where I've soldered the video connector, and then we've got on here we've got a voltage regulator. So you could, in theory, take the voltage directly from this regulator, this NES regulator here, and use that. But I think there were problems in the first generation of this mod. So what they do now is they include this voltage regulator. So I'm taking the voltage in from the existing NES regulator into this regulator, and then taking a voltage out, and that voltage out is what's powering the board. It also goes along the AV cable down the SCART cable, and that's what tells the TV to do the switching when it senses 5 volts on the SCART. So you can see what I've installed is a piece of ribbon cable. Kind of using this stuff more and more these days. It's much more easy to use than separate stranded cable. And then we come in and the obligatory hot glue, and just in there is the back of the DIN connector where I soldered the cable. So what I did is first thing I did was actually make the cable up on the connector. So you know, on the bench, got the connector, soldered the cable in it. I soldered it in the master system pinout, which is kind of a standard AV pinout on a DIN connector anyway. So what we did is sort of count round. I'll show you the pinout picture now, and this was, I showed you in my master system video as well. So I soldered the cable in that method. On this cable, there's a pink line, and I said, well, that's pin 1. The ground pin in this case, and I just went round the connector, soldered all the wires on, and then soldered them onto the motherboard that way. So the only other thing you need to do is the audio needs to come off this chip here. So I've got left and right, or well, it's mono, so it's just mono audio, and that comes off and that goes into here, and then you've got audio out. They're going that way, and that goes down to the audio connector, but it's also on the ribbon cable as well. So yeah, that is pretty much the mod. It wasn't that difficult to install. The hardest part you'll find is removing this chip from the main NES board. So you need a good tool to do that with. I was using one of these guys. So this is a solder sucker and a hot tip on it. And this was really good when I got it new, probably about 4 or 5 months ago. But in the corresponding weeks and months, it's kind of got more and more useless as I think the tip wears out. And this tip is not interchangeable. This is just something cheap off eBay. So yeah, when I first got it, it was a great tool because it's a solder sucker and it's hot. So you just put it on, you know, the over the leg of what you want to desolder, hit the button. See, it doesn't even work anymore. Hit the button, solder came straight out. So to remove this chip, really good. Worked really quickly, and it was super cheap compared with the rework station, which can be quite expensive. I think now what I'm going to have to do is suck it up and buy a rework station, just because you know, these sort of interim options aren't viable. They don't work long term. So yeah, shame about that. That was a good piece of kit while it worked. What I'm going to do is put the NES back together. It's a fiddly job, and I don't want to film it because it takes ages, and you've got to be very careful not to pinch any of these wires, and maneuver them sort of between the cases and put the whole thing back together. Yeah, so that's what I'll do, and then we'll go back to the TV and we'll have a look at the comparison between the composite and the RGB outputs, and you'll get an idea of why RGB is much more preferable to composite video, especially on the NES. It makes it look much better. Here we go, this is it. This is the RGB mod working on the NES through a lovely Trinitron CRT. Probably the highest sort of standard analog image you can get, realistically. Let's take a look now at the comparison between composite and RGB. So what I'll do is I'll just put some still images up on the screen so you guys can see. So yeah, this one here is composite. and you can see there's artifacting sort of on the edges. The edges of pixels look a bit wobbly. The image doesn't have, in actuality the image doesn't have full horizontal resolution because that's the way composite works. So it's sort of compressing the color signal into a luminance signal, and so you can receive that over one cable, and what that means is you don't get as much bandwidth as you would have with an RGB image. So if we look at the RGB image now, and that's this one here, for start off, the image is much cleaner, much straighter. There's no artifacting on the edge of pixels or the edge of blocks. It looks much nicer. The colors are more vibrant. So the increase in quality over the composite image is massive, I think. And it kind of makes the cost of this mod, which is about £70, not including labour, I think worth it if you want to get the maximum sort of image out of your NES. I don't think you get a better image from an NES from a stock, Nintendo made NES now. I think if you want to get a better image, you're looking at a Retron, which again is emulation, or the Analog NT, which is a FPGA based console. I think that's probably the best image you'd get playing an NES game. But if you want the original hardware, this is the way to go. Right, so I'm going to get on with playing Kabuki Quantum Fighter and see how far I can get. If you were doing this mod yourself and you found this video because you got stuck, then please drop us a line. We'll see if we can help you. If you'd like to get the mod done yourself on your NES, or you'd like to buy an NES with the mod, again, we're here for that. That's what 16-Bit Bench does. If you found the video useful, please like it. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more. I need subscribers. Some kind of addiction. I need subscribers. And Facebook and Twitter, 16-Bit Bench. That's where we post updates on what we're doing and where you can get in contact if you're looking to get any work done. So yeah, thank you for watching the video. Hope you found it useful, and we'll see you next time.